How hard is Elden Ring? Fist only. The only rules for the challenge are bare fist only and no glitches. If you enjoy my suffering, don't forget to leave a like so others can enjoy it too. Yay! First order of business is to unequip all weapons. That's it. I picked Wretch because I want every single level I can get into Vigor. Then I very skillfully conquer the first boss. The run is still deathless, technically, I think. Shortly after, we set our sights on something a little bit more attainable. Even though I always just sprint or roll past these guys, he can't be that hard. There's no way. Okay, never mind. It was at this point in the run that I was sort of feeling the torture that was about to happen. But that just means all I have to do is play perfectly for a very, very, very long time. Simple. I think through this attempt, I still never really learn the boss, but I do learn some openings. And next time I'm in Farum Azula, it should be a little easier, right? Start changing my strategy and start going for backstabs. I'm still not particularly great at these. Oh, big 9 damage. Normally I'm a strength user, so it takes a while to adjust to how fast the heavy attack from fists come out. I keep missing the follow-up. You're getting a very small window into how bloody these battles get. There is blood everywhere on the floor already, and I took no HP. I decided to set my sights a little lower and focus on the Soldier of God, Rick. Watching these clips back, it's really goofy just how much blood comes out of these guys. Obviously, it makes more sense when you're using a weapon, but I am just spraying blood everywhere. It's ridiculous. He has no poise, so it's easy to just stagger him, get a bunch of hits in. Eventually, I remember that backstabs exist, and it does damage. I think you can call it that. As a reward for my efforts, 64 runes. Obviously, this run is going nowhere without every single upgrade imaginable, so I start that journey, only to get immediately distracted by Big Golem Man. With very slow-moving attacks, I think that I can win this battle of endurance, but it takes a while. That's why I'm putting it in, I think this is 7 times speed? It might be 10. But I get a stance break way faster than I thought. The fists do like almost no poise damage, and it is here that we see the first big number of the run. Unfortunately, it is also the only big number of the run. Speeding things up again, I was really hoping for another stance break, but he just would not fall over. So our marathon continues. Pretty quickly I learned that it's very easy to bait out his bow attack from really short range, run in, get several hits, run away again while he stomps around. Throws in the occasional flaming vomit. Just to offer some perspective, I'm going to show you the rest of the fight at this speed. I think the total fight took about 15 minutes, which is... It wasn't difficult, but it's still a very long time for just a random enemy. I'm not sure if he can one-shot me. This is just the golem at Castle Morn, but I have no armor and no vigor, so... Luckily, I never find out. Just don't get hit. The no-hit run has always sounded like a really cool achievement, but with a lot of grinding. I don't know why I picked this challenge instead, though. His health is getting very, very low. And finally, he falls. Getting back on track, we keep collecting some upgrade materials and grab the physic. Unfortunately, the physic is not particularly useful in this run, just because it's very difficult to take down an avatar. To actually get some runes, some levels, I decide to try the Grail cheese. And of course, do it perfectly on my very second try. If you don't know the cheese, you wait until he's on that final circle of the bridge. He's almost there. And then if he de-aggroes, re-aggro him, and then go back behind the tree. And now we wait until he flies into the air, which takes a bit. You can get good RNG, but I did not. When he finally does it, just run back onto the bridge. And bear witness. I really hope someone is seeing this for the first time. It's definitely my favorite cheese in the game, but it really sucks to pull off. The very first time I did it, it took me well over an hour of attempts until I finally figured it out. But now, finally having it down, I get some easy runes. I start blasting levels into Vigor. I have no clue why I put one random point into Strength here. I should have just put it in Vigor. That was wasted. It did not increase my damage. Trying to get some more runes, we do the Knight's Cavalry cheese. I still don't really have this one down, but I kind of have a method that works sometimes. If you ignore the fact that I definitely have not failed this before, I don't know why those runes are there. Don't ask me. We then try to get into position here. The goal is to bait his jump attack off the edge, and the only way I could find to do that was to run and hide in this corner and very skillfully take him down. In hindsight, I probably should have went and attempted patches for the golden foul feet, get some extra runes from these bosses. But anyways, we then get the thing that makes this run doable. The regen talisman, I forget what it's called. I think it'll pop up. Blessed Dew talisman, that's what it is. And then, for some reason, I decided that I wanted Golden Vow. Regardless, this was probably my favorite part of the run. Normally, you completely blast these enemies. Or get blasted, I guess. And you never, ever learn that they even have a moveset. And the only way to really experience them is to do pretty much no damage. Although this much no damage is definitely excessive and definitely overkill. I'm really liking the fist moveset. I need to do a actual fist weapon. And right here I'm trying to make him fall off the cliff. It is possible. I did not know that until after. But I'm still glad I spent the time actually fighting this guy. Also, sorry, you can hear me in the background. It's pretty quiet. I was just talking to some friends. Here you see me find his biggest opening. And you also see just a window into how bloody it gets. I start to find a rhythm in these attacks. And it's very satisfying to pull some of these off. It's interesting seeing the different charges he has. I'm not sure if you can tell from the video, but there are 3 different kinds. My favorite one is the one he just did. It is very satisfying to space. And it's the one he uses most often. Eventually I figure out you actually have time for the follow-up heavy, which doubles my damage output. Very nice. Unfortunately, not all of my attacks are hitting both him and the horse, but I also think he probably just has more HP than the horse, which is neat that even a basic enemy kind of has a second phase. The main reason why I sped this part up is just so you could see the sun set in the middle of the fight. I have been fighting this guy for so long, and finally we get to phase 2. Unfortunately, the fight significantly slows down at this point, as he has many more moves to do, and I could not find near as many openings as I could when he was on the horse. You see me unequip and re-equip the Blessed Dew talisman sometimes, and that's because every time you equip it, it immediately does the regen, so you don't have to wait the full time, so it just regens faster. My main goal here is to look for backstab opportunities, and the only one I could consistently find was after he did the running charge attack. But I'm finally learning the delay for following up with a charged attack. It's really awesome to see how much progress I've made, even in, I guess in reality it's a very long time playing the game to still be in this area, but in such a short time, really. Unfortunately, very late in the fight, I find a very easy way to get a stance break, and that is simply to use the kick. I guess I never thought about if it was my bare fists or not. It doesn't do any damage, but rule number 3, you can use the kick. After spending upwards of 20 minutes fighting this guy, I felt attached to all the blood that I had in the battlefield that I fought on. But anyways, on to Margit. This was nightmare fuel. What did I say? Please ignore that. Sorry. Don't be alarmed. This weapon is just for Golden Vow. I do not use it to attack him at all. But let's see just how much damage we do. Great. At this point, it's been quite some time since I've actually fought Margit. I've definitely never done a low damage run, so I don't really know his moveset at this point. Just to give you a scope of how little I am doing with each attack, I've sped this up by I don't know how many times, but this is a very, very long fight, and I do not expect to win this on the first attempt. The issue with attempting this boss at such low damage and it being just an endurance fight is that every attempt takes at least 15 minutes. Any decent attempt takes upwards of 25 minutes. It is insane. Well, 25 minutes doesn't seem that long, I guess, just as a number. When you're presented with so many decisions in a row that you have to approach perfectly, it is very, very, very difficult to stay focused and keep making the correct decisions for that long. For endurance fights like this, resource management is huge, and so I am already out of flasks, and as you can see, I'm pretty low HP. So the fight does not go on for too much longer with a really bad roll. In order to allow myself for more mistakes, I got armor, and I'm ready for round 2. It does not go well. I then start up attempt number 3, and it gets to a point where I've already devoted so much time to it. You can see I'm about the same progress as my first attempt, but I have significantly more resources. But at this rate, it is just too slow. I don't have the resources to actually survive. After spending 20 minutes for not even 10%, and taking phase 2 into account, it's easily a 3.5 hour fight at that pace. You see here I aptly named him Fisto Nli. We continue to get more resources. I was clearly unprepared for Margit, so we are now going to Altus Plateau to get even stronger. The first item on the docket is, assuming many of you saw this coming, but the Icon Shield, which regenerates 3 HP per second, and the Blessed Dew Talisman regenerates 2 HP per second. So it's over doubling our regeneration rate, although it cannot be unequipped and re-equipped like the other talisman can. And after getting several more golden seeds, we are now at 10 flasks plus 9. I don't think you can get any more resources without defeating the tree spirits, and I think that that time would be better spent trying to fight Margit. I'm trying to be very aggressive. 20 minutes for hardly 10% is just not feasible. I cannot fight a boss for 3.5 hours that moves this quickly, but I'm getting significantly better at Margit. At least phase 1, anyways. Here, to get down to the first 10%, it took about 10 minutes, so our pace is much, much, much better. And at this point, I've still avoided using any flasks, although my physic has been used. The rate of the fight is obviously horrible, but it's much better than it was, so I keep up the aggression. trying to shove in as many hits as I can while still not taking too much damage. But at least my skill level, that pressure cannot stay up for that long. And soon I am forced to use a flask. The total fight time at this time has been about 15 minutes. This is by far the best run that I've had. I'm much more prepared for it, obviously. I still have 9 flasks. So health percentage-wise and resource-wise, this is on great pace. Unfortunately, it's now on about average pace, but you can see with each cut, there is so much more blood on the shield and just on my character. And as the sun is setting, we continue to just chip away at this massive, massive health bar. We are steadily approaching phase 2, which happens at about 65% for Margit, I believe. That might be closer to 70. I'm not too sure. But by the time we get to phase 2, the sun will have definitely fallen. And the clip is back to normal speed, so you know what that means. Phase 2. And phase 2 is where things get very difficult. I just could not figure out the combos with his new sword, and he loves to spam it. Probably if you can light roll, it's easier to get through those attacks, but at this point in the fight, I did not want to take that risk. You can see that whenever he is doing anything new, I'm backing away, but if he still uses attacks from phase 1, I'm allowed to be more aggressive. Unfortunately, while I'll still be surviving, this really slows down the fight. And you're going to see in the next cut, he is about to eat through a lot of resources. But this fight is still possible. I have effectively infinite HP. I have the icon shield. I have the talisman. It's tough to see, but it's like all the blood has concentrated on my hands, my feet, and my head for some reason, but there's not a whole lot of blood on the rest of my armor. So every time he did this specific hammer attack, I always got hit by his elbow at the very beginning. And I could just never figure out how to dodge that attack. I feel like you have to tank some of the Holy Blade. Here we are, approaching half HP, but we are down to a single flask. And unfortunately, a lot of the new phase 2 moveset I just cannot figure out. And I'm trying to conserve the little resources I have left and make the most of this attempt. Ideally, we won't have to use the flask for the rest of the fight. Unfortunately, that is not quite what I meant. You might be looking at where you were in the video and thinking, that's it? He doesn't beat it? And, well, yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, I'm a student in college. Engineering's hard. But if enough people want to see me succeed, I'll go for it. Or if you want to see different runs. If you made it this far in the video, genuinely thank you. I want to give this YouTube thing a shot. I really enjoy making content. And I plan to make even better content. So if you want to see that, subscribe.